this speech literally like dozens of times a day. Okay, so there are three different ways in how ketamine works. The first is the chemical. That's the glutamate pathway. That's the part that's kind of like very, very short-lived. Mm-hmm. Within the glutamate pathway, it's the most excitatory, I guess, brain chemical that we have, significantly more excitatory than dopamine and serotonin, and it really does give you that sense of euphoria and relaxation. That's what people kind of initially get when they feel that wave of just comfort. It's also the part of the treatment for people who are in a deep depression or suicidal. That's why they say it works instantaneously, because it does lift that fog almost right away. But it's also the part of the treatment that's most short-lived. It's usually about a day to maybe 2 or 3 days post-treatment where it lingers and lasts. So while it's a benefit, it's not the most important benefit. Though, ironically, because of all the work that we're doing with psychedelics and glutamate, all the pharmaceutical companies are now directing the SSRIs away from dopamine and serotonin, and they're moving towards the glutamate. So they're kind of borrowing off of this side of the medicine and being like, wait, maybe it does work. But then they just want to pill it up and make believe like the rest of the part of the program doesn't exist, which is the next level. The next level is what everybody is and gets excited for, which is the psychedelic component to it, right? And MDMA prohibitors. So it's kind of like MDMA. So it gives you that deep sense of introspective analysis, right? Here's where understanding what's happening allows you to leverage the medication, okay? How that experience feels like. It is not like ayahuasca. It is not like psilocybin. There are no interpretations that need to be met with. You don't have to experience any of the hallucinations that come with the other psychedelics simply because it doesn't go or move in that part of the brain. This is very different. This gives you a deep introspective analysis with a disassociation of your body and your mind. So they completely separate. So you're not burdened by anything physical. You are just in the mental space.
That would be nice.
Yeah. While you're in that mental space, there's two things that are happening. The most important part of it is you're going to become a little bit more in touch with what I call your intuitive voice, okay? And the ego, which I call the relentless voice, quiets down. Scientifically, how that works is your prefrontal cortex and your hippocampus, which is your high level of function processing brain, and your memory center is very, very stimulated. And because it's so stimulated, you have significant higher function in processing information. That is also your intuitive voice. It's that inner voice that every single person has, that when you do unfortunately listen to your ego and things go wrong, you say to yourself, I knew it. I don't know why I did that. What do you mean you knew it and why you did that? If you knew it and why you did it, what led you astray, right? So what led you astray is the other part of your brain. That's the brainstem, cerebellum. It's your impulsive.
Or other than conscious mind.
What we call the reptilian brain. All it does is it triggers reaction. So in this realm, in this space, you have pure, I guess, access to your high function self, which is also your intuition. So anybody who's struggling at any point in their life, during this session, it's incredibly important for you to hear both voices, and you automatically are able to distinguish both voices. And the moment that you recognize those two voices, you have a surface awareness that there is an ego and then there's your true self. And oftentimes we find ourselves chasing pattern behavior because we are giving into our ego. The thing about ego is it's tricky. So I'll give you an example of why it could be tricky. Sometimes people who have poor relationship with their parents are chasing some level of acceptance from their parents. They just want to be validated by their parents. So they work their whole lives to achieve so their parents can be proud of them, right? So you would say, well, that's beautiful that they're using that type of, except it's not. Because if you're valuing pride based on success, what happens if you work effortlessly towards a project and then circumstance doesn't lead you to the success, right? Then you're devastated. But you missed the entire part of the process where you should.
Like, why are you finding my blockages? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So this is a way in which you're feeding your ego. You're trying to leverage it, but at the end of the day, that's still your ego. You're doing it with intentions to satisfy some sort of a drive that is more from the back of your brain. Intuitively, you're like, I'm an adult. My parents didn't give me what I want. Intuitively, I understand it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But your ego keeps telling you, no, 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 no. Keep trying to satisfy it. But it's working because I'm a successful person. I got my degrees. I got this, I got that. But circumstances sometimes doesn't allow for success. We have what are called variables. And while your intentions and your drive may be productive, certain variables may not allow for it to become successful, right? Lots of restaurateurs opened up 6 months before COVID. Right? So if they were driven by the idea of success being what's going to give them some sort of validation from their parents, it's devastating. That's all ego driven. So in these types of situations, you're able to clearly understand what's ego and what's not. And that gives you a better standing of how to function towards your higher value and higher self. Okay? Then the last part of all of this is once all that information comes up and all of that is revealed to you, now you have to integrate it. And that's the most important part of it.
It's funny, I'm like,
process.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Just a lot of court papers. I felt like I was on like an elevator, like Severance, like Severance time.